But the one thing I'm really following, Connor,
Yeah.
is Minnesota United. Because we're going to move over to our friends in the North, Los Loons, who seem to be missing out on Los monies that they are not paying to their Los star, Emanuel Reynoso. That was nice, right? How cool that.
Something like that.
It was reported on Tuesday, that Loon Star. Sorry, I had to. I think that dude's so funny. I found him the other day. I think he's hilarious. So, Loon Star Emanuel Reynoso skipped out on his green card appointment to become a permanent U.S. resident and went back to Argentina. Once again, as this happened last year, missing all the preseason and 15 games to start that year. No one knows when he'll come back. Well, he's actually back now. I did some research after I wrote this out, and he is back, but he just went MIA. So before I ask you the obvious question, does this put a really bad look on the league? Like, is this a bad reflection on the league as much as it is Reynoso in Minnesota?
Listen, the ones that are looking for reasons to hate on the league are going to use anything they can as fuel, and they will use this as fuel. But for those that are neutral or those that are supporters of the league, I don't think it's a knock on the league. I think it's a player specific situation, maybe a team specific situation, but I don't think it's something that MLS should get knocked for as a league.
I think we're going to disagree here a little bit
How
because
dare you?
you know that I'm not one to walk around like the rest of soccer Twitter is like, oh, MLS is so unserious because of insert stupid dumb take here, right? But I do think this is a bad look just on the league, and here's why, right? Especially when you're trying to quell comments like that. Emanuel Reynoso, at the point of research, and it hasn't been updated since September 15th, so we haven't updated with the new numbers yet. Of the players still in the league since that report was released, he is getting paid $2.15 million a season, 25th most in the league, 25th highest player in the league of 30 teams, 900, give or take. That's more than Ricky Puig. That's more than João Klaus, Lewis Morgan, Golden Boot leader, Dante Van Zier, assist leader. I mean, if we're just talking about stat leaders in 2024. In the last two seasons, he's missed 17 games for random trips back to Argentina. That's at the start of the season. Now, I'm discounting 3 games that he missed this year where he was out with the knee injury suffered during preseason, which, okay. But we're talking about a professional player voluntarily missing games, appointments to get him residency in this country, like things that people are setting up for him just to be back home. He's played 30 minutes against LAFC in their 2-0 win. And I'm not sure if he got hurt there and needed to be, rehabbed or whatever. I didn't find anything like that. But Minnesota dropped a video of him a few days ago where he mentions, I didn't come back because of personal and family reasons. And, it wasn't right. And he was sorry and it'll never happen again and blah, 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 blah. And listen, I am here for treating athletes like humans, right? People have problems, people have issues, they need to be able to take care of them. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's not where I'm going with this. But there's a way to go about doing stuff like this. Asking permission, making very basic comments, right? Circling back to this transparency issue we talked about last week, just basic comments saying, hey, Reynoso is taking a leave of absence. He's got to deal with stuff at home, or he's taking a leave of absence. He's got, mental health things he's dealing with, whatever. But just walking off and at least giving the impression that you're just walking off and going away whenever you want is, to me, something that somebody who is anti MLS already can jump on and be like, oh man, look at this. The league lets their high paid players do whatever they want because they know this is a retirement league. It doesn't matter, and blah, 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 blah. Right. So I'm not saying that is the what has happened, but I'm saying it's very easy to give that aura, if you will, for what he's doing, right? When Reynoso is skipping team events, it's a bad look on the league because it's not being, publicized. Like, this isn't something we planned for. It looks unprofessional, right? And if he didn't tell his teammates or coaches anything except, hey, I got to leave. I'll see you when I see you. Right now, I'm sitting in the locker room like, this dude's getting paid $2 million a year. I'm on 70K, and I'm here every day busting my butt, and he's just going as he pleases. Right? That's going to cause problems in your training room as well. So I do disagree with you there that I think it's not a great look. And I'm not saying it's a great look because it's like they're letting it happen. I'm just saying it's a great look because of the image it portrays. You know what I mean?
I mean, I still don't think it should be at the blame of MLS here. I mean, we're talking about the exception rather than the rule. There are a
Sure.
number of stars in this league who are not doing the same thing. Hani Mukhtar, Lucia Costa, they're here. They're playing every week. These guys play like 3,000 minutes a season. They're here every week that they can be. They're acting like stars. They're performing like stars. I think the Reynoso situation is an exception. I think it's more so on the player or possibly on the team, depending on what exactly is going on. And I'm all on board for you in terms of treating athletes like humans because they are.
Right.
And if he actually like, has stuff going on at home, then he should be given the time to go deal with what he needs to at home. Or if it's something very serious and he needs to permanently go back home, then he should. But this like limbo back and forth while not being transparent with the team is, like you said, it's a bad look, but I don't think it's a bad look on the league. Maybe it's a bad look on Minnesota. I also feel like that's a bit of a stretch, but I feel like if you're not talking to your team, that's on you. And maybe I'm missing some of the details there, but um, I mean, if you or I just walked away from a job and just didn't say anything to them and just went MIA, that would be a problem. Even if we were getting paid a lot, like that's not something that's just going to get, it's not like, oh, you know, this company A looks bad because employee one has gone MIA.
Sure. And I do think that it's different when, you know, sports are different, right? Because people are not watching Google and being like, "Oh, Joe Schmo walked away, didn't tell anybody, and now Steve Jobs doesn't know what he's doing." I don't even know if that's the right connection, by the way, but whatever, right? But on the side, right? If MLS came out and was like, "We're encouraging a 2 game suspension," right? Because he left team activities without saying something, or Minnesota even came out and said, "Hey, we're suspending him for X amount," right? Fine, like I think that's great. But because the less they say about it, more they kind of just sweep it under the rug. It feels very MLS 2.0, right? We got these big DP stars in. I mean, even to a degree, like Messi's in this role of people trying to take these shots. And again, a big stretch for a lot of time because he's actually hurt. But people who are like, "Oh, the big stars can just do whatever they want," and that we know that's not true. But when things like this happen, the one-offs, it is tough to shake that sort of thing, right? When Miami is the one bringing in 70, 45-year-olds from Barcelona, while the rest of the league is signing U22s and players that are being sold on for, tens of millions of dollars and all the stuff. The thought is retirement league, right? Because that's what the general perception is. Now, you and I and the people who support this league know that's not the case. But when we're trying to shake a generalization, I think is the better word for it, these things make it more difficult. And again, if Minnesota or MLS comes out and says this wasn't acceptable, or this was acceptable and we were anticipating it, we just didn't make a statement out of respect of whatever, fine, be transparent about it. But when you're not, it is, I believe it's a bad look in general, right? You and I know what the reasoning behind it is, and it's not a knock on the league itself, but it's very easy to put it on there, right? And we do at some point need to start taking that into consideration.
Uh, I mean, how do you put a suspension on a player that's not showing up?
Well, he's
I,
back
I,
now, right? He's back now.
I
So
thought you said he was back and then he went MIA again.
no, he went MIA and then he came back.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
and that's what I'm saying. Like he came back and he's like, "Oh, well, I'm still trying to get back to 100%." So he might have been hurt, but he played 30 minutes against LA. So was he actually hurt? Is he using this as what is it? What's the thing? And again, the transparency part, we talked about it last week, where it would be a lot nicer for them to just come out and make a statement saying, "Hey, he's not going to be there."
No, yeah, I would agree with that. I still don't know if that's on the league or if that's on Minnesota in that case. I feel like more of the ball is in Minnesota's court as opposed to the league's court.
one is the extension of the other, right? Like if you're allowing your teams to do this, then you're allowing everybody to do it, right?
I don't think I don't know. Now I don't know what I think anymore.
I know I'm good at convincing people, but listen, end of the day, right? Like Lewis Morgan would never. Red Bull clear, like pretty easy to draw those conclusions, right?
Sure.
Um, but let's go to the obvious question: what's the next step here, right? The questions are being asked. Should Minnesota be done with him? Should they move on? You know, they mentioned he's trying to get back to 100%, but similar to last year, they've started relatively well without him, right? Is it time to move on? Do you need him to be successful? Can you find somebody else to make it even more successful?
This is a tough question as well. Currently, I'm leaning toward yeah. I think you move on and try something new here because full season of Reynoso last season, Minnesota is in the playoffs. I have no doubts about that. They were like 3 points out of making the play-in game, and he played 1,400 minutes. Like he played half a season. You give me a full season of Reynoso, that team is in the playoffs. No questions about it. And if you want to say like, oh, they had a hot start without him, imagine the same hot start, but he's in the lineup as well. Like he's one of the best attacking players in the league. Adding that onto an already successful team is just going to make Minnesota even better. I mean, we saw what Minnesota looked like when he was in the team. When he played over 2,000 minutes, they finished 11th and 12th in the Supporter Shield, which is, yeah, I'm not saying he's taken Minnesota to number one in the West and number one in the league, but it was certainly a far jump up from 21st finish they had last season when he played half the year. And if he's going to go down that route again, I 100% see Minnesota falling off of the good form and not being able to capitalize on having a player like Reynoso on the team. So at the moment, yes, I'm on board. I think they should move on, find someone who is going to be more committed to the team and could bring that same level of production because I think Minnesota has the potential to be a consistent playoff team. They have a good core in place and they need that star number 10 to help out Pookie. And if I were a Minnesota fan, I don't know if I'd be able to fully trust that Reynoso doesn't just leave again and do this again because it's now been multiple times that it's happened.
Yeah, I'm right on board with you there, right? Still under contract for next year. So you're not going to lose him on a free until 2025, or if you want to use your buyout, like we were talking about before. Still only 28 years old, which is kind of wild. I thought it was well older than that. So plenty of sell on value. I'm sure there are tons of club back in Argentina who will pay to bring him back, right? Even if you have to cut even or break a minimal loss, whatever it may be. And from there, now you take that money and you reinvest in players with similar skill sets who actually want to be there and grow their game, right? Don't get me wrong. He's been great for Minnesota. When he's on the field, he's one of the best there is in the league. There is no denying that. But you do have to be realistic with the model of the game in this league. You are under a cap. You have a certain amount of money to pay a certain amount of players. When you are under a cap, you are paying him to play. When he's doing stuff like this, you think that maybe there can be somebody there who can get you the production that he's given you in the times that he's played for a better bang for your buck. And that's just the way it may be. It's the harsh reality of sports being a business as much as it is, a game. It's even more emphasized by the fact that we're in a salary cap league. This isn't just somebody who's like, oh, we paid 25 mil to bring him in and oh, he's not performing. Oh, well, we'll just sit him on the bench and play our 35 mil guy. Like that's not the way this game works, not here. So in that mindset, can we move him on more proactively instead of waiting for him to get to the end of his contract and lose him on a free? Right? Because that's what's going to end up happening. Because it's quite clear he doesn't want to resign unless something crazy happens and they pay him dumb money. But then again, you run the risk of him being like, oh man, I got paid and now I can show up whenever. So, yeah, I do think it is time to move on, not because he's underperforming or not even because of all the games he's missed, injury and otherwise, but you can probably find somebody who will get you the same output, equal or lesser cap hit, and wants to be there 100% of the time, grow that team. So I'm with you there.
Good. Glad we're on the same page.